I never imagined that a peaceful afternoon at the park would become the day my life fell apart. The sun hung low in the sky, spilling golden light across the water like molten glass. A gentle breeze carried the scent of freshly cut grass, and laughter echoed in the distance. It was the kind of day that felt borrowed from a dream, perfect, fragile, and fleeting. Peter's laughter rang beside me as he chased pigeons across the lawn, his small legs pumping with determination. His giggles floated through the air, light and carefree. "Slow down, sweetheart," I called, smiling. He turned back, his bright eyes shining. "Look, Mom, they're flying away." I laughed softly. "That's because you're too fast for them." Peter beamed and ran back toward me, wrapping his tiny arms around my waist. I brushed his soft curls away from his forehead and kissed him gently. "I love you," he whispered. "I'll love you more," I replied, my heart swelling. A few feet away, Rowan stood by the edge of the lake, his hands shoved deep into his pockets. Unlike his younger brother, he wasn't smiling. His posture was rigid, his expression guarded. He stared at the water as though it held answers to questions he refused to ask aloud. "Rowan," I called gently, "come sit with us. We'll head home soon." He didn't turn around. I sighed quietly. Being a stepmother was never easy. Loving Rowan, however, had come naturally. From the first moment I met him, I saw through his silence and defiance. Beneath the walls he built was a wounded boy longing for something he couldn't quite name. Acceptance, stability, love. And I had promised myself I would give him all three. "Rowan," I tried again, keeping my voice soft. "Your dad is expecting us for dinner." He turned slowly, his blue eyes cold. "You're not my mother," he said flatly. The words pierced my heart, just as they always did. Still, I forced a gentle smile. "No," I admitted, "but I care about you as if you were my own." He looked away, his jaw tightening. Before he could respond, Peter ran up to us, holding a white feather between his fingers like a treasure. "Look what I found," he exclaimed. "It's for you, Mom." I knelt down and accepted it with a warm smile. "It's beautiful." "Thank you, sweetheart." He hugged me tightly. In that moment, everything felt right, like a fragile picture of happiness carefully balanced against the weight of reality. I wish time would stand still, but life has a way of shattering even the most delicate illusions. "All right, boys," I said, standing. "It's time to go home." I extended my hand toward Rowan. He stared at it as if it were something foreign. Then he stepped back. "I'm not leaving with you." His tone was sharp, defiant. "We'll talk about it at home," I said calmly. "Please, trust me." "Leave me alone," he shouted. The sudden outburst shattered the tranquility of the park. Conversations paused. Heads turned. I felt dozens of eyes settle on us, heavy with curiosity and judgment. I knelt in front of him, lowering my voice. "Rowan, listen to me. I would never hurt you." "Don't touch me," he yelled, stumbling backward. Peter froze beside me, clutching my hand. "I want to stay here," Rowan continued. "I don't want to go with you." My chest tightened. Something was wrong, terribly wrong, but I didn't yet understand what. "I'm not going to hurt you," I whispered. "You know that." He shook his head, his eyes blazing with emotion I couldn't decipher. And then I noticed her. A woman stood several yards away, holding a dog on a leash. She watched us intently, her brows furrowed. When our eyes met, she hesitated, then reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. A chill ran down my spine. Minutes later, a police officer approached. "Good afternoon, ma'am," he said, his voice measured. "Is everything all right here?" I rose slowly, my heart pounding. "Yes, officer. Everything's fine. These are my..." "She's lying," Rowan cried suddenly. "She's trying to take us." The world tilted beneath my feet. The officer's expression hardened. "Excuse me? She's not our mother," Rowan insisted. "She wants to kidnap us." Gasps rippled through the crowd. My throat went dry. "That's not true," I said quickly. "I'm their stepmother. My husband. Don't let her take us," Rowan shouted, grabbing Peter's arm. "She's dangerous." Peter's eyes widened with confusion. "Rowan," the officer raised a hand. Everyone remained calm. He turned to me. "Ma'am, I'm going to need some identification." My fingers trembled as I reached into my purse. "Of course. Please call their father. He can't confirm. We'll sort that out at the station," he replied firmly. "Please," I begged. There's been a misunderstanding. But Rowan's tears, the murmuring crowd, and the stranger's fearful testimony painted me as something monstrous. Within minutes, another patrol car arrived. As the officer gently guided me toward it, Peter's voice trembled. "Mom, what's happening?" My heart shattered. "It's okay," I whispered, forcing a smile. "Everything will be all right." But as the handcuffs clicked around my wrists, I knew nothing would ever be the same again. The police station smelled of cold coffee and disinfectant. The harsh fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting sterile shadows across the gray walls. I sat on a metal chair, my hands clasped tightly together. I didn't do anything wrong, I murmured. The officer across the table studied me carefully, then explained what happened at the park. I'm their stepmother, I said firmly. We were heading home. Rowan was upset because he wanted to stay longer. That's all. Please call their father, James Carter. The officer's brows lifted slightly. We will. But until then, we need the truth. That is the truth. The door opened, and Rowan entered with another officer. He walked with unsettling confidence, as though he belonged there. He claimed you tried to force him into your car, the officer said. That's not true, I exclaimed. She threatened us, Rowan insisted. I heard her on the phone. She said she was taking us away. My breath caught. Rowan, why are you saying this? I'm your family. He looked at me, his expression hard. You're not my family, he said coldly. You never will be. His words cut deeper than any accusation. Before I could respond, the door opened again. A tall blonde woman stepped inside, her heels clicking sharply against the tiled floor. I'm Adriana, she announced coolly. Their mother. What's going on here? The room fell silent. The officer straightened. You're their biological mother? Yes. Her gaze shifted to me with disdain. And she's the replacement. My heart sank. Is she a kidnapper? The officer asked. Adriana shrugged. Of course not. She takes care of them more than I do. Relief flooded through me, but it was short-lived. Mom, Rowan pleaded, his voice trembling. Please take me with you. I don't want to stay with her. Adriana laughed softly, without warmth. Don't be ridiculous. I don't have time for this. His face fell. The rejection in his eyes broke something inside me. He hadn't accused me out of hatred. He had done it out of desperation. And in that moment, I realized the truth. Rowan wasn't trying to destroy me. He was trying to be loved, but his cry for attention had turned me into a criminal. And my nightmare was only beginning. As the door opened once more and a familiar voice echoed through the room, my heart skipped a beat. Is there a problem here? James, my husband, the father of the children, and the only man who could save me. The moment I heard James's voice, my heart leaped with fragile hope. Is there a problem here? He asked, his tone calm, but commanding. Every head in the room turned. He stood tall in the doorway, his presence filling the space with authority. Dressed in a tailored suit, he looked composed, but I could see the concern in his eyes when they found mine. James, I whispered, my voice trembling with relief. He crossed the room in steady strides and placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. The warmth of his touch grounded me. I'm here, he said softly. Everything will be all right. One of the officers cleared his throat. Sir, we're investigating an accusation of attempted kidnapping. The boy claims. My wife is no kidnapper, James interrupted firmly. This is a misunderstanding. His voice was calm, but there was steel beneath it. The officer hesitated before responding. We're simply following protocol. The accusation came from a witness and the child himself. James nodded. And now you have me. I'm James Carter, their father. A flicker of recognition crossed the officer's face. The tension in the room shifted. I see, he said. We just needed to verify the situation. Then consider it verified, James replied. Serena is their stepmother. She has cared for them daily for years. If anyone here has protected those children, it's her. His words wrapped around me like a shield. For the first time since the nightmare began, I allowed myself to breathe. Across the room, Rowan shifted uncomfortably. His defiance faltered beneath his father's steady gaze. Rowan, James said gently, is this true? Did Serena try to hurt you? The boy stared at the floor. Silence stretched between us like a fragile thread. He began, his voice barely audible. I just wanted Mom to take me with her. The confession pierced the room. Adriana sighed dramatically, clearly irritated. Oh, for heaven's sake. Rowan, don't be ridiculous. You know I don't have time for this. Her indifference struck him harder than any punishment. His shoulders slumped, and his eyes filled with unshed tears. Please, he whispered, I just want to be with you. She rolled her eyes. I have a flight tonight. I can't rearrange my life because of your tantrums. Her words were cold, final, merciless. I felt something inside me shatter. Rowan hadn't accused me out of hatred. He had done it out of desperation. A desperate cry for the love he had never truly received. And it had nearly destroyed us all. Is that why you lied? James asked quietly. Rowan nodded, tears finally spilling down his cheeks. I thought If she saw I needed her, she'd stay, he said. I didn't mean for Serena to get into trouble. My heart ached. Every instinct within me wanted to hold him, to comfort him, to assure him that he wasn't alone. But I stayed still, letting him speak. I'm sorry, he whispered. I didn't think they'd arrest her. The room fell silent. James exhaled slowly, running a hand over his face. Rowan, do you realize what you've done? Serena could have lost everything. Her reputation, her freedom, because of that lie. I know, Rowan sobbed. I'm sorry. The officer nodded solemnly. Given the circumstances, we will close the case. However, this situation could have had serious legal consequences. Understand, James replied. Thank you for your professionalism. The tension dissolved as the officers stepped back. My nightmare was finally ending, or so I thought. As we prepared to leave, Adriana's sharp voice cut through the room. This is exactly why I never wanted you around my children, she said, glaring at me. You've turned them against me. I stared at her in disbelief. Against you? Rowan accused me because he wanted your love. She scoffed. Don't pretend to understand. You're just a substitute. Her words stung, but I refused to flinch. Perhaps, I said quietly, but I'm the one who stays when they cry. I'm the one who tucks them in at night. And I'm the one who shows them what love looks like. Her expression hardened. You have no right to speak to me like that. Before anyone could react, she raised her hand, her intention unmistakable. Time seemed to freeze, but I moved first. I stepped between her and Rowan. The sound of the slap echoed through the room. Pain exploded across my cheek, but I didn't move. I didn't cry out. I simply stood there, shielding the child behind me. You can hit me, I said, my voice steady despite the sting. But you will never hurt these children again. The silence that followed was deafening. Rowan clutched the back of my coat, trembling. Peter burst into tears. Mom, he cried. James's expression darkened. That's enough, Adriana. You will not touch my wife again. She looked stunned, her composure cracking for the first time. You're choosing her over me? She demanded. No, James replied calmly. I'm choosing what's right. For a moment, Adriana seemed speechless. Then she scoffed and grabbed her handbag. This is absurd. I have better things to do. She turned and walked out without another glance. Rowan watched her go, his face pale. The door closed behind her with a soft click that sounded louder than any slam. And just like that, she was gone. Again, I turned slowly and knelt before him. Rowan, I said gently. His eyes brimmed with tears. Why did you do that? Why did you protect me? I brushed a tear from his cheek. Because that's what mothers do. I hurt you, he whispered. I told them you were a kidnapper. I know, I replied softly. But you were hurting too. His lip trembled. You still love me? With all my heart, I said. He threw his arms around me, sobbing against my shoulder. I'm sorry, Mom, he cried. The words struck me like a beam of sunlight after a storm. Mom, tears filled my eyes as I embraced him tightly. I forgive you, I whispered. Always. Peter joined us, wrapping his small arms around us both. I love you, Mommy, he said. James stood beside us, his eyes shining with pride and relief. Let's go home, he said gently. The ride home was quiet. Rowan stared out the window, lost in thought. Peter rested his head on my shoulder, half asleep. James reached over and squeezed my hand. I'm sorry you went through that, he said. I'd go through it again, I replied softly, if it meant protecting them. He smiled. That's why they love you. As the city lights flickered past, I thought the worst was behind us. But I was wrong, because later that night, I would discover a secret, one capable of changing our lives forever. And this time, love alone might not be enough to save us. The ride home that evening was wrapped in silence. The city lights blurred past the car windows like distant stars, flickering in and out of existence. Peter slept against my shoulder, his tiny fingers curled into the fabric of my coat. Rowan sat across from me, staring out the window, his reflection trembling in the glass. No one spoke, but everything had changed. James reached for my hand, intertwining his fingers with mine. His grip was warm and reassuring, yet I could feel the tension beneath it. You were incredible today, he said softly. I managed a faint smile. I only did what any mother would do. He looked at me with quiet admiration. Not everyone would. His words warmed my heart, but exhaustion weighed heavily on me. The events of the day replayed endlessly in my mind. The accusation, the humiliation, the slap, Rowan's tears, and the moment he had called me Mom. That single word had made everything worth it. When we finally arrived home, the boys went upstairs to prepare for bed. I tucked Peter in first, kissing his forehead as he drifted into sleep. "Good night, Mommy," he murmured. "Good night, my angel," I whispered. Rowan lingered in the doorway of his room, hesitating. His eyes met mine, filled with uncertainty. "Can we talk?" he asked quietly. "Of course." I sat beside him on his bed. For a moment, he said nothing, twisting the edge of his blanket between his fingers. "I was afraid," he admitted. "Not just today, but always. I thought if I loved you, it would mean I was betraying my real mom." My heart tightened. "You're not betraying anyone," I said gently. "Love isn't something you divide. It's something that grows." He swallowed hard. "Do you really forgive me?" I cupped his face tenderly. "There's nothing to forgive. You were hurting. I understand." Tears welled in his eyes. "I love you," he whispered. "I love you too," I replied. He hesitated before wrapping his arms around me. This time, there was no resistance, only acceptance. "Good night, Mom," he said softly. As I left his room, tears blurred my vision. My heart felt fuller than it ever had. For the first time, we were truly a family. But fate had one more test waiting for us. A few weeks passed, and life slowly returned to normal. The shadows of that terrible day began to fade, replaced by laughter, warmth, and healing. Until the day everything changed. It began with a routine medical checkup. I'd been feeling unusually fatigued, dizzy at times, with a persistent ache in my lower back. James insisted I see a doctor, despite my reluctance. "It's probably nothing," I reassured him. But deep down, I felt uneasy. 2 days later, I sat in a sterile office, staring at the doctor as he reviewed my test results. His expression was grave. "Mrs. Carter," he began gently, "I'm afraid we found something concerning." My breath caught in my throat. "You have chronic kidney disease," he said. "Your kidneys are failing." The words echoed in my ears like thunder. "No, that's not possible," I whispered. "I'm sorry," he continued. "Without a transplant, your condition will worsen." The world tilted around me. "How long?" I asked, my voice trembling. "With treatment, perhaps a few years," he replied carefully. "Without a transplant, much less." The room felt suffocating. I thought of James, of Peter, of Rowan calling me Mom. I wasn't ready to leave them. Not now. Not ever. Weeks later, another devastating blow struck our family. Peter collapsed at school. The diagnosis was swift and brutal. Acute kidney failure. James stood frozen as the doctor delivered the news. "Your son will need a transplant immediately." My heart shattered. "Test me," I said without hesitation. James looked at me in shock. "Serena, you're already ill." "I don't care," I replied firmly. "He's my son." After a series of tests, the doctor returned with astonishing news. "You're a perfect match." Silence filled the room. "But how?" James asked. The doctor glanced at his chart. "It's rare but not impossible. Genetic compatibility isn't always limited to biological relationships." I smiled faintly, tears slipping down my cheeks. "Then there's no question," I said. "I'll donate my kidney." James's voice broke. "Serena, you could die. I would rather give my life than watch him lose his," I replied. Rowan, standing in the doorway, began to cry. "You can't," he whispered. "I just found you." I pulled him into an embrace. "Love means sacrifice, sweetheart." He shook his head. "You saved me. Now let me save you." But I knew my decision was final. "I'm your mother," I said gently. "And this is what mothers do." The morning of the surgery arrived sooner than expected. As I lay in the hospital bed, the sterile scent of antiseptic filled the air. James sat beside me, holding my hand, his eyes red from sleepless nights. "I can't lose you," he whispered. "You won't," I assured him softly. "No matter what happens, my love will always be with you." Peter was wheeled into the operating room beside me, clutching his teddy bear. "Mommy," he murmured weakly, "will you stay with me?" "Always," I whispered, kissing his forehead. Rowan stood nearby, tears streaming down his face. "I love you, Mom," he said. "I love you more," I replied. As the anesthesia began to take effect, I looked at my family one last time. "If I don't wake up," I said gently, "promise me you'll take care of each other." James squeezed my hand. "You will wake up. I believe in you." The world faded into darkness. When I opened my eyes, the room was bathed in soft morning light. For a moment, I thought I was dreaming. Then I heard a familiar voice. "She's awake." James's face appeared beside me, radiant with relief. "You're here," he whispered. "Peter," I asked weakly. "He's stable," James said, his voice trembling with joy. The surgery was a success. Tears streamed down my cheeks. Moments later, Rowan and Peter rushed into the room. Peter, pale but smiling, climbed carefully onto my bed. "You saved me, Mommy," he said. I hugged him gently. "You saved me too." Rowan took my hand, his voice shaking. "You're not just my stepmother," he said. "You're my real mom, the one who chose me." My heart overflowed with love. At that moment, I understood something profound. Family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by sacrifice, forgiveness, and unconditional love. Months later, we returned to the same park where everything had begun. The sun shimmered across the lake, just as it had that fateful day. But this time, there were no accusations, only laughter. Peter chased pigeons across the grass. Rowan walked beside me, his hand resting comfortably in mine. "Thank you for never giving up on me," he said softly. "Thank you for letting me love you," I replied. James wrapped his arm around my shoulders, smiling. "We made it," he said. "Yes," I whispered, gazing at my family. "We did." As the wind rustled through the trees, I realized the truth. Love is not proven by words. It is proven by what we are willing to sacrifice. And that day, in the warmth of the setting sun, I knew I had everything I had ever dreamed of. Because I was not just a stepmother. I was a mother by choice. And that made all the difference. Subscribe for more.